Hello everyone, this is a tutorial for how to use R. We will look at how to load dataset into R and how to run some example codes. So go ahead and go onto Canvas, look under week 2, look under R code examples for exploratory data analysis, and under there you'll see 3 different files. The first one that says chapter1 underscore EDA.R, that is the actual R code, the R file that we're going to open in R, and we are going to run through those code. And so the first one is the R file, so go ahead and download the R file. Alright. And the second one is, and the third file, those 2 files are datasets. They're not our files, but we're going to download them and then load into R so that we can use these datasets in R. Okay, so go ahead and download these datasets. It has the details are shown here. Download survival data. Alright, now that you downloaded all 3 of the files, make sure that they are saved in your folder. So find the folder where those files are saved at. Okay, let's go. I've downloaded under downloads. So I see 3 of the files has been successfully downloaded. So that's good. Now let's open up R. And when you open R, you can go files, open file, and then open the R script that we just downloaded. Okay, so open this chapter1 EDA file, and now you'll get to see the R code here. Sorry. Yeah, so if you read the comments that's shown here, it explains what each line does, so please read them through. And this is exploratory data analysis for categorical data first. So recall where you saved the data and the path to the folder. Okay, let's go to our folder and try to remember where the file path is, what the file path is. So go ahead and click the dataset that you want to load into R and right click on it, and you'll see properties. Click on that and you would see location of the file. So what's the location of the file? Users, young, download. So you need to remember that. And for Mac users, this will be similar. Right click on the dataset and you'll see get info somewhere here, and when you click on get info, you'll see instead of location it will say where. So it'll say where, and then Macintosh, users, your name, downloads, something like that. So need to remember that location. And once you've found your location, let's go back to the R Studio. So the first thing you want to do is to load the dataset into R. And how do you do that? I'm going to call whatever is going to be loaded here, I'm going to call it diagnosis data. And this arrow means I'm going to assign whatever's to the right of the arrow to the left of the arrow. So this diagnosis data would have whatever I'm going to load in here, right? So let's go ahead and try to do that. So what does this function do? Read.csv. It's going to read the file, and the file extension is going to be CSV. All right, and the file we have is CSV file, so that's good. We can supply this data set in here, and R is going to read it. The only thing you have to change here is the location of the file. You need to give the location so that it is the exact location that you have in your computer. All right. For me, where was the location? The location was users young downloads. So let's go ahead / users, and this has to be exact. The R is case sensitive, so do not try to just copy it and paste. You need to be very exact. So users, and then what? Young downloads, right? Young downloads. Now, what you're telling R so far is to look under users, under young, under downloads, and then you still need to tell R what file it needs to look for, right? Under downloads, what do you want to look for? This data set, diagnosis data, right? So let's apply that in here. Diagnosis. Oops. Data dot CSV. You need to make sure that you supply this dot CSV, because otherwise R is not going to know that is a file. If you notice, if you don't have this, it looks like you're supplying another folder. Look under users, look under young, look under download, look under diagnosis data folder. But you don't have a folder, you have a files. So you need to tell this as a file. What file? CSV file. Alright, so now that you have supplied the correct file path to the file, let's go ahead and run this line. To run the line, make sure that your cursor is on the line that you want to run. So go ahead and click run. Now it has ran. Now it has run, and you can see diagnosis data shows up on your environment. And if you want to look at the data set, you go into console and just type in diagnosis data, right? And you can see the data set. So let's go ahead and go to the next line. If you read what it says, this line is going to create frequency table, right? How do you want to do that? We're going to create a frequency table using this table function and going to assign it to counts. All right, so I'm going to call this frequency table counts and assign the values of that into counts. So table, what does table do? It's going to create a frequency table, but you need to give it data inside it. What's the data? The data is going to be, what is your data set called? Diagnosis data. Diagnosis data, right? And then what are you supplying here? Remember that when you're doing EDA, what are you graphing? A variable, right? So you need to supply your variable. To do that, you just add a $ to it, and the data set will show what variable it has. We only have one variable, right? Diagnosis. So we are going to graph that. So if you just click, if you just press enter, it will autocomplete for you. All right, so let's run that line. Make sure that your cursor is on that line. Press run. Now you can see the counts has been added to your environment. So if you want to see the contents of the counts, just type in counts into the console and then just press enter. Now you can see that you have created a frequency table for this data set. Okay? And if you read the next line, if you run the next line, it'll sort your frequency table by counts. All right. So if you run that, and let's look at counts again. you can see that the smaller ones are in the front and the bigger ones in the back, so now it has been sorted out. If you want to run, if you want to create bar graph, then you can run this line. Make sure your cursor is on that line, click run. There's your bar graph. If you want to create pie chart, run pie chart. Yeah, there's your pie chart. We can do the same thing for the continuous data, right? Let's call this data what? Call this data survival data. And I'm going to assign whatever I'm going to load here. I'm going to assign it to survival data. So let's go ahead and load the data set. Again, this is the same thing, read.csv. So I'm going to read R, I'm going to give R a CSV file to read for. And where's the data set? Let's go to the folder and click on to the data set that you want to load. Right click on it, properties, or right click on it, get info. Then you'll see your location again. So this is the same location. So I'm going to remember that location, users young downloads. So let's go ahead and change that. Users young downloads, right? And you need to tell what file it needs to look for. Survival data.csv, right? So let's run that line. You can see the survival data has been added. If you want to see the content, there's your data set. It has days as a variable and it has 72 individuals. Okay. So if you want to create a histogram, you can do that using a hist function. And what do you need to supply? Your data set, and what in your data set? Your variable. So what's your data set? Survival data. And what's your variable? Just press $, and it will give you the options for what variable you want to grab. We only have one variable in the data set, it is days. So you're just gonna put days here. Just press enter, it'll autocomplete, and you can run this line, and now you have a histogram. Okay. Same thing for the stem plot. If you want to run, if you want to create a stem plot, do the same. Now you have your stem plot here. So this is how you can load dataset into R and create some visuals. Okay. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Come to the office hour or email. And yeah, thank you for going through the tutorials.